I'm not gonna lie. When we got our first look at the Nikon Zf, I felt just a wee bit of nostalgia creeping in to my overall assessment of the camera. After all, as my regular audience will know, my first Nikon camera bought 43 years ago was the Nikon FM, which the Zf is patterned on, at least cosmetically. Of course, this full-frame camera can use any of the Z-mount lenses to date, including APS-C lenses in DX crop mode, but really, you want something kind of special to match the retro aesthetics of this camera, right? Well, I know I do. And Nikon has given us a few, like the relatively inexpensive 28mm 2.8 and 40mm f2 SE special edition lenses. And I have the latter of those two. And the 26mm 2.8 Pancake, I don't have that, but that harkens back also to the Series E lenses of yore, the 50mm 1.8 for instance. That was the first lens I bought for my FM. But there's really a place for third-party lenses in this space. Enter one of the niftiest 50s available in Z-mount, the full-frame 50mm f2 from TTArtisan. It's available in E, X, Z, L, RF, EOS-M, and MFT mount. Obviously, in this case, we're looking at Z-mount for Nikon mirrorless cameras. In particular, the full-frame Z6, Z7, Z6 II, and Z7 II, Z5, Z8, and Z9. And the perfect match, in my opinion, the Zf. This lens is available in black and silver. Now, I think it comes down to personal taste here, same as the choice between black, indigo blue, stone gray, bordeaux red, sepia brown, sunset orange, and moss green for the Zf. But I gotta say, I absolutely love the silver model of this lens on my Zf. This is a manual focus lens with no electric contacts to send EXIF data to the camera. So just like in the old days, you have to carry a notebook if you need to record your f-stop. I do recommend setting up non-CPU data in your camera. The Zf, like the Z8 and Z9, allows up to 20 non-CPU lenses to be programmed. And what I did is I mapped that to the function button, so I can easily scroll through and choose my manual lenses. And I'll talk later in this video about another contemporary function specific to the Zf that really helps with manual focusing. I've reviewed two other TTArtisan lenses, the 50mm f.095 and the 35mm f1.4. And full disclosure, like those other two lenses, TTArtisan was kind enough to send this full-frame nifty 50 for me to review. I get to keep it, but no other obligations or remuneration involved. These are simply my opinions, impressions, photos, and video clips after using the lens for a month. And I'll say the same about this lens as I said about the APS-C lenses. It's built to last. Full metal body and super smooth focusing. The aperture ring, that's also smooth with well-defined clicks and half-stop detents through f5.6. After that, single to f16. There are both distance and hyperfocal markings, laser etched on the barrel. Closest focus is 0.5 meters. It's worth repeating just how silky smooth these movements are. 43mm filter thread, and once again I'll say what I said about the other lenses. The screw-on cap, well, it's definitely part of the retro design, but it isn't exactly practical in use. So, as with those APS-C lenses, I went looking for an alternative. TTArtisan does have a round hood available, but I found another online that TTArtisan doesn't seem to offer anymore. At least I don't see it on their website. And I will say, in criticism, the company does seem to willy-nilly discontinue some of its accessories, like lens hoods. Anyway, I found an earlier, more retro-looking 43mm lens hood on Amazon. Comes with clip-on lens cap. Yes, it's a little fiddly at this size, but certainly more convenient in the field, if you don't drop it in the grass. I also added a filter, my usual go-to Hoya neutral protector. Now, do these accessories add any vignetting? What is obvious is this lens exhibits a fair amount of vignetting at wider apertures, but I think it's safe to say that this combination adds no more. How about the filter? Well, something I'd add here for those who aren't convinced that protective filters are necessary. These filters have excellent modern coating, so it's arguable that using them with older and cheaper lenses can actually improve image quality. Here's a non-scientific comparison of this lens with and without the filter. Again, while I'm not seeing any perceptible benefit as far as IQ, certainly it's not hurting. While we're at it, let's take a look at the results at different apertures. I've noticed with other reviews where I've gotten overly technical, looking at basic analytics on YouTube, that very few people watch that part of the video. So let's get out of the studio and use this lens how it's supposed to be used. On the street with this wonderful manual focus lens from TTArtisan. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to wander around and take some shots of people, places, and things. Now, one of the great things about the Nikon Zf, and I don't know that there's another camera out there that will do this, but even with manual focus lenses, we still get facial recognition. It'll grab an eye or a face or whatever, so that really helps. And then, of course, we also have focus peaking to help us along. Well, our light almost gone, so I'd better get to work and see if we can get some shots.
And I will correct something here that I said in an earlier video on the Nikon Zf, and that is that we get 8 stops of image stabilization, not 6. So that really helps here, particularly in low light situations.
Well, as you can see, we're racing the last light here, so this is going to be my last shot, and it's going to be of the lighthouse. Now, TTArtisan isn't the only manufacturer of retro-style lenses. There's 7Artisans, it's a similar brand name, and maybe you're familiar with Voigtlander. Great choices there. And I know some photographers who are big fans of Voigtlander in particular. But if we were looking for an equivalent from that company, their 50mm f2 APO, for instance, and that is a fantastic lens by all accounts. But be ready to shell out $1,049. So this little 50mm f2 from TTArtisan at $70 US, I think is a super option. Don't you? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd really appreciate your opinions. But I'll let this lens speak for itself in this final gallery. These with a bit more editing, but my usual straightforward tweaks, nothing serious. No AI, that's for sure. I'm a straight shooter. Again, I think for the most part, it's quite a capable little lens. Vignetting is apparent at wide apertures, yes, but that can be dealt with to a fair degree in post. Corners are also fairly soft, but the center of this lens is really quite sharp. And as we saw in the previous tests, clears up quite nicely at around f8. So I'll say the same for this lens as I did the APS-C 35mm f1.4. f8 and be there. It's nice. Saturation and color rendering is pretty nice. Do bring an umbrella to rainy shoots though. This lens isn't weather sealed. Again, for the price, the build quality, another great little lens from TTArtisan. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please do give it the old thumbs up. And if this is your first time here, well, please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. In the meantime, take care, cheers, and we'll see you later.